My name is Bobby Ramirez. I have been with the company for 4 years now. A typical day for me at Lupton Associates as a business development sales representative is, staying informed and on, different industry trends, competitors, and most importantly, our customer needs. So lots of customer outreach with new and prospective customers. So when our customers have an issue, we're the first person they think of. My favorite thing would be, just having the privilege of representing the different small businesses we represent, and I think ultimately helping people and the relationships that form through that process with our principals and our customers. I would have to say navigating the recent onshoring that is taking place with domestic manufacturing and just learning how to communicate any of those challenges with our customers. In a lot of ways, it's good because you're getting more face time with them. But at the same time, at times you're working through different issues, right? So it's not necessarily a positive conversation every time. It's talking through different challenges. So it feels like you're busier some days. So the way tariffs have kind of impacted everything across the board, I think it's been a moving target, right? So customers at times will reach out to you, because you're supposed to be the industry expert, on tariffs. And sometimes you don't have an answer to some of their questions, which are, real questions for small businesses throughout the US, right? And since it's been an ever-changing thing, sometimes it's hard to get them accurate information in that moment. So oftentimes, if I have the answer, I'll share it. If not, it's, let me get back to you on that as we figure out, what that actual tariff looks like, since there's, different sections and subsections within the tariff codes that could help alleviate some of that, the cost for them. I think it's just trying to stay informed, reading up on, what's going on. Sometimes it feels like daily, clearly we know there are certain deadlines that have been relayed to the general public. So some of those dates are circled in your calendar to see, what's going to happen on said days. But I think more than anything is, just trying to stay in front of the customer and understand, what their needs are and which way they're going to head depending on some of those tariff outcomes. So I worked for an industrial hardware distributor. So I was there for 10 years actually. So I lived out in Arizona and had a territory there that I covered. And then that opportunity, flourishing in that role, allowed me to gain an opportunity to expand out to Texas. So I moved out to Texas for 6 years. That all brought me full circle to the introduction to Lupton, where I'll retire at. I would say honesty, fairness, and determined. The first one with honesty and, and what we do, we need to be honest with the customer and our principals at all times, right? Especially when things go bad, right? Which, manufacturing, you name it, things could fall behind or, any wide range of variables could factor in. So it's always best to just be, upfront with the customer on what is going on. And through my experience, 9 times out of 10, that feels like they're a lot more understanding rather than the latter of, maybe trying to say, hey, we'll get past some of these issues and not being fully transparent, right? And I think fairness, goes in a little bit more into, our relationship with the principals and, we want to be fair in what we do. And I think determined would be, what we do at Lupton's and what we're doing. We're out there looking for new business. We're out there trying to land opportunities for our principals. And, it could be a great fit for our principal and it could be a great fit for the customer, but the timing could be off, right? So although everything felt like it lined up, you'll soon find out that maybe it didn't, right? So that's where that determination comes in, that if you truly know it's a fit, and sometimes maybe the customer doesn't know that, right? You stay on it and eventually, the timing will be right and, it will be a good fit for everybody, the principal and our customer. I think it's our ability to look at a customer's needs and offer a solution to them from a unique perspective. because we represent, synergistic solutions, we can look at which process is truly the best fit for them and, for what the customer is trying to accomplish. I think some of that has come up at different times with, folks that are looking at maybe a small detail part, for example, that they think, should be done on a laser. And once we look at the size of the part, the volume of the part, we could offer them a solution that's at a fraction of the price through our short run stamping process, right? And, solutions like that also come up with different plastics at times. Folks look at a certain part and, they design it and aesthetically, it looks like it'd be a great fit for, injection molded, for example. And then ultimately, it'd probably be a great fit for a thermoplastic part, right? It just totally depends on what the customer's needs are. And I think that's part of, us representing those synergistic solutions to be able to look at it from a different lens for every application. One skill that I think everyone should learn, I think it would have to be grit. I think some may consider that more of a personality trait, but I think it's a combination of skill and mindset. So, you need grit to handle the different failures in life, and I think you definitely need grit in the line of business that we're in. So I live in Arizona, so one of my favorite hobbies is hiking. So that's something that I could do by myself, to watch the sunrise, or something that I could take my kids on the weekend, if we have some extra time. Another hobby would be golfing. And the last one would be coaching, which is a newfound hobby for me in the last 2 years. I coach my daughter and my son's soccer team right now. They're still pretty young. I'm sure at some point I won't have that opportunity anymore, but while I can, I definitely enjoy it. I guess, the madness of coaching 3 to 5 year olds. Spanish was my first language. I learned English, I would have to say it was right around 7 years old, 7 to 8 years old. Being bilingual, yeah, I mean, it's helped out tremendously. So I cover the Southwest for us at Lupton Associates, and it's a big part of that region. Bilingual plays a pivotal role with developing relationships with customers, as well as, covering Mexico. So traveling to Mexico, that's instrumental in, being successful and building those relationships with customers. I would have to say Rocky. That was a great underdog story, and enjoyed, watching those movies growing up. Any morning that I could do something active before my day starts, that's truly my time, is typically a good day. So even a bad workout, it was a good workout in retrospect. So that either involves, going for a run, going hiking, or going to the gym. And it's also something to kind of help also when you travel, to kind of regulate some of that as well, right? To keep you on schedule. So same routine when I travel, same routine when I'm at home. Well, this one has been a lot of years in the making. I'm still working towards being conversational in French. Lots of years in the making, still not there, but still working towards it. I know 2 languages, but my wife speaks 4. So that's partly where the French comes in. So some of my family on my wife's side is fluent in French. So it helps to, what's going on at the dinner table sometimes. Before I had kids, it was a lot easier to allocate the time towards trying to learn French. Since then, it's a little bit more difficult. So it's years in the making. If I had a time machine, I would travel to the future. I would love to see what the impact of AI will be on our everyday lives. I think that is fascinating and scary all at the same time, but nonetheless, I mean, I'm just so curious to know how that's all going to play out over the next 10, 20 years. I mean, I don't know. All my talents are athletic talents. Like, you know, but I joked with my wife. She should just make light of it or something, pick something funny. So sure, I could answer it. I think we have a few guys are really good with some musical instruments, so I think I would definitely have to be the lead singer. I think that would be my role. I do not have any singing experience outside of when you end up at a karaoke bar at some point in the night. It's okay. I gave up on that dream a while ago.